Cool.
We'll start with the easy thing, and
Yeah, let's do some hardball questions.
Hardball questions. All right.
I'm kidding. No, softball's good.
Where's first comics that really got you hooked on the medium? Where did comics start with you?
80s DC comics. You know, I was living in Spain as a child, and so I had the translated editions of Superman, Green Lantern, stuff like that. So those were my very first comics. You know, and I had toys, I had other little kid stuff, coloring books and stuff. But for some reason, comic books really, like, just grabbed me and never let go. I was compelled to draw them myself and write my own little kid stories and stuff. I don't know what it was. I couldn't really think about this back then, but it was just, I guess it was the intimate nature of the comic book. I just loved it more than a video game or a toy or anything else, really. It just had no competition. It had competition, but it beat out all the competition all the time. It was been comics. Like, I mean, I remember one of my early obsessions were Garbage Pail Kids, right? So that almost beat them out. I don't know if you guys remember Garbage Pail Kids, the trading cards drawn by John Pound and Art Spiegelman and such. But that's about it. Comics really were my main obsession.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who were some of your early influences?
I'd say the first artist I remember trying to copy was John Byrne.
Okay.
I was a big John Byrne. He was this mainstream DC artist, I'm sure you all know. His Superman was the Superman I grew up on. So I would just try to recreate covers and make my own characters that kind of looked like his characters. And sometimes I would just draw the covers because I didn't want to go through the trouble of actually making the comic book. I would just kind of draw the title and the number and the price point and the Canadian price point and then the UPC symbol. I was really into the object of the comic. I remember I would even write out the indicia, you know, the address of my home address and the copyright information. I mean, I was like 8. I had no idea. You know, I learned English through comics at the age of 7, and so by 8, I was already like,
nice,
just a little comic book maven, I guess.
Now, you are actually one of the few creators that I remember, especially in the early 2000s, who were very vocal about their love of Image Comics and the Image founding fathers in a time where people were still bagging on Rob Liefeld for not showing feet and all.
Yeah, they still are.
I know.
You know the drill.
But who was your favorite founding father for Image? And who have you grown to appreciate over the years?
That's tough to say, because I'd say it was a toss-up between Eric Larson and Todd McFarlane, both who drew Spider-Man, if you guys aren't familiar with their work, but they went on to do Image, Savage Dragon, and Spawn, respectively. There's something about the both of them that's so different, but I really, I don't know, I connected with both of them for different reasons. Mostly Larson, because they're both cartoony, and what I regard as cartoony, which is not photorealistic, but it's not like the Sunday comics cartoony. It's more like a blend of realism and abstract art. Mm-hmm. Even though I don't think Todd would identify it like that, but I like the fact that his stuff is fleshy and grotesque, but also cartoony and fun to look at, very well designed. And he was applying that stuff to superheroes, and as a kid, I just thought it looked cool. I wasn't like thinking about all this stuff intellectually. I wasn't trying to like justify it to myself. But you know, you grow older and you kind of shed those influences.
Right.
And then the industry, you know, I was a kid, by the way, just like reading stuff in a void. I wasn't really interacting with people at the comic store, or I didn't have many friends that collected comics. I was the one who kind of did the comics thing. So it took me growing up and then getting, you know, being online to recognize like, oh wait, I guess John Byrne's a jerk. And I guess, you're like, I had no idea. And I guess you're not supposed to like Rob Liefeld. That's bad. And I'm like, well, I kind of like him. Yeah. I mean, I love him, actually. I was like, no. I was the demographic for that stuff. I was like a kid, just prime. And I was, you know, I liked all sorts of comics, right? I wasn't just like a DC head or a Marvel head. If it was a comic book, I just gravitated towards it, you know. So I discovered the documentary Comic Confidential, mm-hmm. which opened the world of independent comics, the golden age. It it was amazing. I wasn't like, well, that doesn't look like the Punisher. Oh my God, I hate it. Like, I just loved it. I loved all the versions of Batman that existed. I was a sponge for this stuff, and that includes Rob Liefeld, and that includes Todd McFarlane. So when the Image happened, that's when I was really just getting into making comics for real. You know, by for real, I mean like making 20-page stories and stapling them, and showing it to no one, by the way. But I loved all that stuff. I bought all those books, and I just had that love ingrained, you know. So when I shed that influence, it took a few years for me to reconnect with it. I think because I just got into this habit of reconnecting with stuff or discovering stuff that I missed as a child. You know, I was going back issue hunting and bin diving and stuff like that, and discovering artists, and then reappreciating people like Rob Liefeld, like Todd McFarlane. Yeah, that stuff has never left me. I still like it. Oh, have you not been?
Yeah,
has it been
I
one
haven't
Image?
been doing this thing because I forgot about it.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
Amateur hour here.
You could just leave that one up. It's fine, I guess.
No, I went to the
I
trouble
leave it to you.
to paste everything together, so we're going to go
You guys are
through
all
it.
familiar with Image Comics and stuff, and like Todd and Rob and how they're polarizing figures.
Eric Larson was the correct answer, by the way.
Yeah, it always is. The one who I do appreciate now, and I did it before, is someone like Jim Valentino, who came from the undergrounds, and he had a style that had nothing to do with superheroes, and he just made that hard pivot from like something like Normal Man to Guardians of the Galaxy, and he just kind of trafficked in that language. It's so kind of remarkable if you think about it. You know, whether you like it or not, it really is a different language when you come from like 80s, not underground, but 80s like mid-level independent work, and then you're doing a Marvel comic monthly. Those are two separate worlds. Those are two very different things, and I guess you could say that Copra is a result of that. It's a marriage of that stuff.
No.
You know, it's you know, I was a wizard reader who discovered the Comics Journal, but I have wizard in my DNA, so.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Now,
I'm sure we all do in a weird way.
We'll bring up Copra, which started with this, Death Zone, which is your Suicide
looks great.
Squad bootleg comic. So what brought that about?
Oh, I had a break in work. You know, I used to work at a puppet place where we would construct puppets and props for Broadway. And it would just, you know, that was my 9 to 5 for about 7 years. And there was a slow period. You know, there was not a lot of work coming up. And so I had a month off. And so instead of looking for other work, I decided, well, I just want to put out a comic that I love. It coincided with my fascination with the Suicide Squad. I was revisiting the stuff I read as a kid and finishing off the series and being I don't know, I just love the writing. I love the art too, but there's something actually quite sophisticated about the way John Ostrander and Kim Yale wrote this monthly superhero espionage story. I just fell in love with it. I didn't know what to do with the energy I had for this thing. Like, should I make fan art? Should I write an article for the Comics Journal expressing my love? And I'm like, you know what, I'll just do what I do. What I think I want to do best is comics. So I just made a comic, even though like I shouldn't do a comic. It's a bootleg comic, right? Like I shouldn't sell it. Like what am I doing? Like I should be looking for a job. I should be making a portfolio at least, like just getting legit work, which I had been doing on the side. Like I was doing the puppet job stuff, you know, shaving foam for huge sculptures, and it was just not. It was a fine job. It was fun, but it wasn't comics. I was trying to break into comics by doing the typical thing, you know, submitting samples and going to conventions and talking to editors and stuff. So anyway, I thought, screw it. I'm just going to make the Suicide Squad comic. My 3 friends are going to read it. All the indie people are going to hate it. I don't care. I'm just going to make this thing. And so I had it published. I just self-published the thing. You know, I figured I knew how to self-publish a couple things. I had done a couple things up to that point. So I'm like, I could put out a 16-page comic about the superhero comic no one talks about. And this was pre-movie stuff, so it wasn't really in the zeitgeist at all. Yeah. It was just my own personal nostalgic obsession with this material. And I thought, you know what, I just have a month to do it. Let's see what I could do in a month. 16 pages seems reasonable. So I just slapped it together, and it exists. And then it was over. And I'm like, well, I don't want that to be over. Like, I want that. I love that thrill of making a comic and have it exist immediately. And that's how Copra was born, through this unofficial thing, which I didn't technically sell. What I did was if you bought a print that I made, then I would just give it to you. So I don't think that works. I don't think legally that works, but whatever. It was off the grid. I only printed like 300 copies. It really wasn't that much. It was enough, but it did lead to Copra. So.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the first year of Copra then. You were on a monthly schedule, correct me if I'm wrong, for that first year?
Yeah.
I guess, how did you pull it off, and what was the balance like? Because I know you have a kid, and were you working at the time, or were you still on break?
No. That Copra, because Death Zone was so much fun, I'm like, well, how do I turn that into a job? How do I make a thing happen every month? Because prior to that, I was just doing Zegas, which came out once a year at that point, and that just wasn't a career. That was more of a side thing. It was hobbyist almost, and I didn't want it to be. I wanted to do comics as a living since I was a child. So I was like, all right, nothing else was working. I'm not doing Zegas on a yearly basis. It's just too much work. It's not. It's just the return wasn't there. I said, you know what? Fuck it. For a year, I'm just gonna do a comic based on Death Zone, sort of. I'm just gonna tweak the things a little bit. Which apparently has happened all throughout comics history, right?
Yeah.
Like Watchmen, you guys are familiar with Watchmen? That was a retweak thing. Stan Lee used to retweak things all the time. So I'm like, all right, so I'm carrying on this rich tradition of tweaking things. It was a bootleg prior. Bootleg have since become like a major expression point for people. Yeah. But I figured I don't want to do a bootleg thing. I don't want to be Mr. Bootleg. I'm just going to do my own thing and create my own world, starting with just one issue. I'm going to bat it out, and I did. And then it was Charles Forsman who was like, why don't you just make a subscription? And that'll force you to just create the thing. And he had done Charles Forsman of Oily Comics fame. And I'm like, oh, that means I'm going to take money from people up front. Like, that's... okay, I could do that, but that's scary. That means I actually have to produce something. And that's how it became my job, at least for a year. I figured I'll do this for a year, and if it tanks, then whatever. It'll be a year's worth of comics, right? Worse things could be done in a year, right? So I figured I'll try it out. And it just kept growing. The readership kept growing. More stores kept ordering. And thus it became my job. It became my career as a result, But that first year was insane because it was all based on my schedule. I had to schedule everything to the T, right? Like 1 week is all penciling, so that means I have to pencil X amount of pages in 5 days. Then ink week, then color week, then lettering and scanning week. And I couldn't miss a deadline. I treated myself like an employee of like DC Comics in the 80s, really, like as if I had an editor. I was the editor. I was in charge of making the thing happen and go out the door. I couldn't be like the lazy artist, or waiting for my muse. My muse was rent money. I had to create a comic every month, which actually helped form the story. I was like, well, what kind of story could I tell that's going to be 12 issues? Oh my God, how could I possibly fill that up? And it was a group story. It was a revenge story. It was a group dynamic. I could take them on all sorts of locations and give them all sorts of missions. I wasn't trying to overthink this stuff. I really was just trying to like tap into that childhood thrill that I had from reading all those old DC comics and Marvel and whatever else I came across. Love and Rockets, that's another big one.
Now, I've heard you over the years mention breaking the Kirby barrier. You want to explain what that means and what it entails to reach that kind of level of output?
Well, my previous stuff, I was super slow on it. I was really meticulous in executing the work. It was really detailed, lots of color, lots of lines. And I wanted to achieve that, but at a faster rate. And that really is just about getting out of your own way, right? So I was like, well, I could do a couple shortcuts here and there, and I just have to go fast. I can't be like worried about how pretty something is. It just has to be done. And what I
Done
discovered
is
was,
better, yes.
yeah, done is better. It's like get it out the door. Like this is a job. This isn't your project. You know, it's a job, right? So I had to see it through those lenses. But it is my art. That's the tricky part. It's like that's the balance for me. Where it's like I still want it to look nice and be proud of it. It's not just some nameless job just sent out to some faceless editorial department. It's like I'm still in charge of everything. It's my name on it.
Yeah.
So striking that balance was interesting, and I think breaking the Kirby barrier, which is just producing a lot of work in a condensed amount, in a condensed fashion, just really cranking it out, just helped me get over myself. I'm just like, well, Kirby did this monumental work, and it looks beautiful, and he did 10 times the amount of work, forever. It wasn't like a blip. It wasn't like this creative peak. It's like his creative peak was just constant, right? So, oh, thank you. This one? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was inspired by Kirby and his output, but the Kirby barrier, I think, was coined by Walt Simonson, who was also Walt Simonson of Thor, Orion fame. We speak the same language. We all
Yeah.
know that point, the same.
Walt Simonson is amazing.
Yeah. Walt Simonson was a slow artist at first in the 70s, and then something clicked. I don't know what job it was for him, but something clicked, and then he started doing Thor monthly comics. And those comics aren't batted out at all. Those are very beautifully rendered, meticulous, and he wrote them at the same time. So it was like, oh, the proof is in there. Like he did it. He cracked the code. Now it's funny because Gil Kane, Silver Age artist Gil Kane, said something. I'm paraphrasing him, but he said something about like a cartoonist's dream is to reach facility, but once you reach facility, anything beyond that is the kiss of death. And what I take that to mean is that you build up your artistic muscles to be fast, but then once you're fast, you can't slow down and do anything else. You just, like you cannot take your time. You've built yourself up to be the speed machine, and then you can't slow down and do more nuanced work. He was talking within the context of the monthly American mainstream grind.
Mm-hmm.
But I always think about that because I did reach a certain facility in like cranking this stuff out. But I think now as it stands, I do try to pace myself and give attention to certain things. It's not quite as batted out as I set out to be. So
that quote reminds me of a quote from Dave Sim, which is when you're getting started as a cartoonist, first you're fast, then you get good, and then you get good and fast.
Yeah, ideally.
Yeah. And that bridge can take years.
Yeah. My birthday brother, Dave Sim.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, don't tell anyone.
No, I won't. Your secret's safe with me and these fine people over here.
This isn't being recorded. This is a live. This is like old school jazz. You just get to see it now.
No, I'm pretty sure it's recorded based on the video camera.
Oh, I didn't. Thanks, bro.
So you can hush up about your secrets.
I'm protected.
No, your visual style is kind of instantly recognizable. You're one of the few cartoonists that I see nowadays that I'm like, oh, well, that's Fiffe.
Oh, there's a drawing.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Fiffe.
There's Fiffe. How did you go about developing your kind of aesthetic behind it all?
I don't know, because when I draw, I don't really think of a style.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that style is really just all your mistakes,
Yeah.
right?
Mistakes and influences, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. I find myself as I can't pick it out. I just kind of draw certain things. I make marks, but sometimes I see, even that dry brush right there. That might be part of a style for me. It's just like I just like a dry brush.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it's like old printings or old, liking old George Gross drawings, from the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I discovered nibs. Actually, my main tool is a Hunt 107 that I discovered in high school, discovering his work, George Gross, a German painter, artist. and I never looked back. The nib and the dry brush have been my friend since. So I don't know what my style is. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I could say that I liked John Byrne when I was 8 years old, but I like a little bit of everyone.
Yeah.
You know, there's guys like Steve Ditko, guys like Simonson, Jaime Hernandez. The Hernandez brothers, actually, I think those are two pretty big influences on me. Sometimes in drawing, sometimes in writing. I don't know. I try to sometimes describe it, my style, for someone who's not familiar, especially for a certain like a superhero crowd who isn't familiar. I try to maybe say that it's like Walt Simonson inked by Sam Keith. You know, so just
I can appreciate
because
that.
I try not to rip off Simonson. I really do. I try to actively not rip him off. I love him so much. But I also ink in a very specific style. It's just as tools I have. It's just really like, maybe that marks my style.
Yep.
I don't know. It's always changing also. I think if you read Copra 1 to 50, you'll find a different artist at the end of it, not only because of time, but because of my interest, you know? Like even this piece right here, like you see all that open cross-hatching? That's very 90s influence. That's my Rob Liefeld influence right there. Just big biceps and muscles and lots of double shading and stuff like that. I just wanted to incorporate it for the storyline for this panel. I was reappreciating that stuff, and I was like, yeah, how would that look like if I just incorporate what I normally do with that sort of like very popular, or 90s, it was very popular, that style. If I mix it in with my painted color, with some zipatone, with some open space, I just think it looks cool. Just a big buff dude bleeding from his face. That's why I do what I do, bro.
Yeah, it's Copra.
I get to wake up and draw that. Like that's a privilege. I never take for granted.
I guess, let's see here. Switching back to Copra's journey. At some point, you began a relationship with Bergen Street Press, and then later Image Comics. How did those come about?
Well, Bergen was a store run by a couple of friends of mine, and great store. Are you guys familiar with Bergen Street Comics? Did you ever visit? It's a brick and mortar kind of like store on Bergen Street in Brooklyn, New York. And it was a wonderful store. I think it lasted over 5 years. And then they just closed shop. But before they did, they pivoted to publishing, because they saw that I was selling out of my early issues of Copra. And they just kind of stepped in and they're like, we could do the collections if you want. We could fulfill the orders. And, you know, comics have done that before. I remember The Tick started off like that. Floating Worlds and Desert Island, Portland and Brooklyn, respectively, did the wonderful newspaper comics that they would give out. They were freebies. So Bergen stepped in. They decided to start doing collections, comics. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll take care of the issues. You take care of the collections. And then they became a publisher. And they started publishing all my books, and Chuck Forsman of Oily Comics. He did a book called Revenger. He did a couple books for them. And then they closed shop. Bergen Street just closed shop altogether. And I thought they were going to be my publisher for a long time, like forever, really. But they closed shop. And Image Comics had been interested, sort of, in Copra. And I had a relationship with them already from other projects, so I figured, why not? Why not let them take over the books? But also, why not let them take over the issues? Like, I just kind of want to ease off the self-publishing aspect of Copra and just let them take care of all the orders and the fulfillment and the retail aspect of it. So I didn't have to do as many invoices, and I could just concentrate on inking big muscles, right? And it worked. It worked for a few issues, actually, but then the pandemic happened, everything got crazy. And so I didn't like the loss of control, you know? If anything, this is just me being a control freak, right? This whole thing, I just have to letter it myself, publish it myself, do everything myself. So I retained that control of doing the issues. That much I could handle. They still put out my books. They still deal with international editions and digital editions and all that stuff. I don't have to worry about that stuff. So I kind of have I don't know. I'm trafficking both worlds. 'Cause those are two different worlds.
Yes, they are.
You know, I mean, they deal with like the LCS crowd, the Wednesday Warrior crowd. It's a larger arena that they have to deal with. I deal with like direct to reader, subscription based, boutique publishing. Like I only publish like a few hundred copies of my comic book, and readers get it directly from me. And I think that's a special bond too between me and whoever orders books directly from me. Whereas like someone who doesn't have access to that could just get the books from their local comic shop. Like I think it's kind of cool. It's cool to have those options open.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Now on that, to dive a little deeper into what you just mentioned, how important was the online community in cultivating Copra and keeping you going? Because I know you have a Facebook group and you had your Etsy store, or still have your Etsy store.
Yeah, how important was all that stuff, the online?
And how did that all
It's super
come
important
about?
from the beginning. I mean, things like the store itself, just having a store support a book that already made people take notice of like, oh, what is this book? What are they doing? Podcasts, you know, a lot of comic book podcasts were just like starting up around that time, around 2011, 2012. They had existed before, but really it was gaining some momentum. And that helped. Blogging still occurred, so a lot of critics would always mention Copra. And that helped a lot. So all this stuff really like helped push Copra to get new readerships, to get more eyeballs, you know. And then also I would have an online presence just by sharing stuff I loved, whether it be on social media or on my website. I would just always talk about other comics because that's just what I love to do naturally. So it's either sharing my art or talking about old Suicide Squad issues. Half the time at shows, people wouldn't be familiar with the Suicide Squad, and I'd be like, oh, you could revisit Copra. You should really go out and buy those issues because they're fantastic. So I'd be doing that. I would just be talking about old artists or obscure artists that just, you know, people didn't know about. I would be introduced to other people. Like, you know, I'm always like on the hunt for this kind of stuff. Most of it is happening online these days. Mm-hmm. So you kind of automatically build a dialogue with just people, whether they're readers or not. You just kind of, I don't know, you just kind of keep the conversation about comics going.
Are there any...
that's been important to Copra, for sure.
Are there any obscure comics or creators that you wish people recognized as influences on Copra? Suicide Squad's obvious. I've seen Steve Ditko with Doctor Strange.
Steve Ditko, he co-created Spider-Man.
And so Doctor Strange,
not too obscure, but these names are, I don't want to say dying, but, you know, some people are not familiar with, like, Frank Miller or Love and Rockets.
Which
it's
makes
crazy.
me sad.
To me, those are, like, staples, right? But I get it. It's a generational thing, and there's so much stuff, you know. So obscure ones, I don't know. I'm really into Dan Spiegel.
Okay.
I don't know if you would see that in my work, but I really love his work. He drew Black Hawk and Crossfire in the 80s. And apparently he had been drawing comics since the 40s. So I just discovered really his work. I've known about his work, but really appreciated it now. As an adult, I'm just like, oh, this is really cool, sophisticated, awesome rendering, you know. And who else? I don't know. Oh, there's Gary Thomas Washington, who I think was a local here. And he passed away recently, and that's when I discovered his work, because I read a post about him, and I knew his work a little bit. And so I did a deep dive, and he had designed the logo for the Laughing Ogre, the local store.
Yeah, Gib told me about him finding work for you.
Dude. Yeah, so just a couple days ago, Gib from Laughing Ogre showed me and gifted me this piece by Thomas Washington, and I almost cried on the spot. I mean, because I just love his work so much. Minimal output, didn't do too many comics, went into gaming design, and then just kind of disappeared. And it's like, if it wasn't for the 1 or 2 issues that I have, and me being like, I like this guy's style. What is he up to? And it's like, oh, he passed away just like a month ago, you know, when I discovered his work. And so I just did a deep dive on him as I do often, you know, when I discover someone, I just have to know everything about them.
Yeah, I've noticed your blog.
I'd say Trevor Von Eden is another one. That was that was a major one. I hunted him down and I interviewed him for the Journal, I don't know, like 15 years ago, and I did a deep dive on him, and it's great. I mean, this is I would do this for free, if you understand. Like, this is just what I love doing, you know. It just kind of feeds. It's cool that it feeds into my work. You know, I can channel all that stuff directly into my work.
Let's see here.
So that was Dan Spiegel,
Yeah.
Trevor Von Eden, and Gary Washington Thomas. Thomas Washington.
Yeah.
That's
a good list. Now, let's see here. So Copra, there we go, is famously known as for fetching huge prices on eBay.
So
Did that come as a surprise to you? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, because it made me feel like I should have held on to something. You know, are you kidding? What I would do, I'm still missing a couple issues, because what I would do is, like, if someone failed to order, you know, was missing an issue or something, I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. Or if something got beat up in transit, you know, because I would ship it to them, and if it got beat up, I'd be like, just have my copy, I don't care. My point was to, like, get it out to readers, fulfill that person's order. And I wasn't thinking about this stuff as collectibles, you know, I was just, like, wanting to spread the word. And so I treated my copies as not disposable, but available. I wasn't coveting them or anything. So I've since discovered that I should have. But yeah, it's cool. It's flattering. I don't know. People collect the way they collect. So I don't know. If they want to slab them too, that's fine. You know about slabbing, Brian?
Oh yeah, I know about
getting
it.
I don't a signature on that comic.
What's that?
You got to have someone official. Whatever. We'll talk about stuff.
Yeah.
Free plug those monsters.
So, what made you feel like it was the right time to end Copra?
I don't know. That's tough. I should have just kept it going, really, but it just felt right because I told the stories that needed to be told. Yeah. It's that simple. It's really, like, it just felt right.
Did you have an end in mind when you started it?
No.
No.
In fact, the ending, I started it, you know, as a 12-issue thing, and I was, like, worried that I could fill up 12 issues. I'm like, oh, what do I do? God. And then by 12. I was like, oh, I think I could go to, like, 36. For some reason, that number, I think I was reading, like, Berserk at the time. And I was on book 36. I'm like, yeah, that's great. Like, Berserk is one of my favorite manga series ever. And so I was really influenced by that, the scope of that work. And so I'm like, I think I could do issue 36. He has 36 books. I could do 36 issues. You know, if I could just respect the characters and develop them a little bit more, get to know them, really, because I don't think 12 issues was enough for me to get into those characters or their histories, you know. I made that stuff on the spot. The long game wasn't there when I was doing the first 12, really. So it gave me a chance to go deep the way Love and Rockets goes deep. You know, I don't think Jaime had that mapped out. He kind of worked on it in 8-page, 10-page increments, issue by issue. So I'm like, okay, it's doable. I could do 36. Maybe I could do 40. Okay, might as well do 50. And maybe I should do 66 to match the Suicide Squad thing, you know, right? To be really geeky about matching the original set. But then I'm like, that's a little too much. That felt like milking it. So I felt like 50 was nice. I recalibrated.
It's a nice round number. Yeah.
But I was thinking even there's a certain arc where I was planning like this 12-issue thing where the world changes and it's warped and it's blah blah blah. And I'm like, by the second issue, I'm like, I gotta wrap it up. Like, I gotta go back to just offices, normal people, and clothes. Like, I could have my fun for 2 issues, but that felt like milking it. So that was kind of an editorial decision on the spot. But I had that plan of like, I could go the distance with this thing, but I was thinking like a Marvel, right? Like, let's milk this thing. We could do this Age of Apocalypse thing for whatever amount of issues, right? And I'm like, I'm not that. You know, I could get influence from that, but I'm not that. You know, we're creating different types of books. So that was one last minute fix.
Wow. It's the glory of being the man with all the hats on.
Yeah, for sure.
But, let's see here. Okay. Well.
Are we done?
No, we're not done yet. I still got plenty more
done
questions,
phase.
and they all have questions too.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
it's
sure.
Q&A.
But we'll ask a couple more before I get the flag.
I'm here for you, Brian.
Good. No, I guess while you were talking, I'm wondering if there were any particular characters that you grew to love. Any particular favorites over the years?
That I
as
grew to
far as
love.
writing.
Oh, that's tough because it always changes. You know? Gracie became sort of my stand-in for a long time.
Yeah, I noticed
even,
that.
Even though she was just, not just, but she was like a part of the team. But when I developed her, I'm like, oh yeah, she shares my history. Being from Miami, being Cuban, her interests, her in music and film, stuff like that. So she's based visually on Grace Jones, while painted by Keith Haring. There was a snapshot. I think that happened a couple times, but I've loved that image. I'm like, well, I need in the Suicide Squad analog thing. I'm like, well, I need a model type of badass, and I'm like, well, who else could do that but Grace Jones? So I modeled her after that.
Okay.
And I've grown to really love her. I don't know. All these characters kind of have their own charm. I think I love writing them, even when I have to kill them and they have to die.
Yeah.
Like even in the first. Well, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it, but I've killed a lot of characters that I sort of regret. Like part of me regrets it, but I'm like, it was necessary for the punch of the story.
Right.
But I don't get to draw them anymore, and that's a bummer. Unless it's a flashback or something, or I get to like resurrect them, which I don't do. Just I try to treat this stuff with
that kind of takes away from the whole Suicide Squad.
Exactly.
Death needs consequences.
Yeah, and I think that's a freedom in self-publishing.
Yeah.
Calling your own shots. I don't have to like do that. If I decide to kill my Wolverine character, he stays dead. But anyway, I fell in love with all the characters in a way, even the B-list characters. I just try to give them all a little personality, I'm trying to think. I kind of equally all like.
No, that's fair.
I don't know. It was weird saying goodbye to them. It's like, oh, this is the last time I'm writing this thought balloon to this character, and then off to like war. They've, toward the ending. Again, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but there is an ending. There are casualties. So that was weird. That was tough.
Wow.
That was unexpected. I wasn't expecting that, to be so attached to them. I mean, it makes sense. I've been with them for like 13 years. So this guy's a real bastard, too. I really liked writing him. He's like this fake king who has his own kingdom because his parents want to keep him happy. He sort of has like...
He's a very fun character.
Yeah, he's fun to draw, too. It's just kind of weird. I modeled him after James Spader. I gave him, when he takes off his mask, he's got that perfect hair.
Well, I guess last question before we open it up to the audience, but what advice would you give to independent creators trying to build a readership today and or trying to start their own comic book, for that matter?
Just start and keep going and don't stop. It's like that simple. It really is that, and that was really difficult for me to just kind of do that, to just not map out things forever and develop characters and designs and world building. Like do your world building on the page as you're telling the story, But also, world building doesn't have to be 50 issues of anything. It could be an issue. It could be an 8-page story. You're building a world. You're cultivating a tone, and that's just as important too. Just start the thing and see it through. The see through is the tough part too. Starting it, it's like the beginning and the end. It's like, just focus. That's it.
Yeah. Wow. Does anyone have any questions?
What are you working on now that? What are you working on now that Copra is ended?
I'm working on reformatting the stuff, getting it into books. But story-wise, I don't have any immediate projects. I'm still working on it. I'm like an obsessive list maker. I love mapping out like ideas and possibilities and stuff. And that's what I'm doing at the moment, just kind of like seeing what lands. You know, I might be doing some collaboration as well. You know, because all this has been just me in isolation doing stuff. So I might collaborate. I've collaborated before, here and there, but not in any substantial degree. But I might do that. I might approach that. I might self-publish a couple things for other people. I might approach that too. So it's a lot. It's so many options. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do really, but it's kind of cool. I don't know. I'm trying to enjoy the moment because it is kind of weird. You know, it's just a different space that I'm occupying right now. So I'm just trying to like not get wrapped up in it. You know, I should be calling editors and being like, by the way, could I just do this, blah blah blah. I'm doing that too. I'm trying to do everything. And I've been pretty busy, even though Copra is over. I thought I'd have a break and get to take a vacation, but no, that's not the case.
There is no vacation for cartoonists.
For a cartoonist, ever. But once I have something solid, I'll let you know. I'll beat that drum. It'll be annoying. It'll be whatever. Of course, anytime. Nope.
I would like to hear you speak more on kind of what you were talking about before with the tweaking and kind of the idea of a lot of these characters are almost archetypes that you can just kind of visually reference and people understand, but then it leaves these openings for depth that you can build while you're writing it. And I just wanted to hear more about that.
Oh, well, that's the thing. Like, these aren't archetypes, really, the Suicide Squad specifically. These are just my personal favorites, but it's not like they're not big characters the way the Trinity at DC are, you know, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. They're not Hulk types, they're not Spider-Man types. They're very nuanced characters. But I didn't want to just copy them. I wanted to just treat it like, what if DC approached me and they're like, well, do something with them. So be true to those characters, but do something different with them. And I think just inherently the way I draw just automatically makes it look different. And the way I treat them when I write them, because I don't want to do just a cover song, I kind of tweak it a little bit. So it depends. Some I tweak more than others. Some have to ring true to the original source material. But someone like her, like Guthrie, right? Like, she's essentially Lashina from the New Gods, you know, Duchess, right? Who's a very different character. I love that character, but that is not her. Like, I wrote her to take a turn in her own, and she's become her own thing. But the blueprint is Lashina, a Jack Kirby character that was remodeled by John Ostrander and Luke McDonnell to be Duchess. And so she's almost like two characters already at DC. So now she's a third character through my filter. But it's a case-by-case thing, you know. It depends on like what the story requires, you know. But she's a perfect example of that, filing off the, what do they call it, the serial numbers and doing your own thing. And people do that for all sorts of reasons, you know, like they just want to do their own, well, I don't know, whatever, Batman comic or something. So that's a pretty easy one where everyone kind of knows, you know. This stuff is trickier because it's like Lashina, I don't know. Like I think she just got her first action toy now, you know, like people don't really know her, so. I don't know, I try to treat it with the respect it deserves, and if I tweak it a little bit, it's still retaining the essence of what the character was or is, you know.
I think we have time for one more question.
Just one more.
Yep. And then
So
you can
first and
visit
foremost,
Mike.
I really want to say the creating Copra talk was phenomenal, and I can't wait to revisit that on YouTube for CXC. Something I wanted to ask is, are there any creative exercises that you use that you really enjoy in exploring ideas that help you, whether it's indirect or direct? So like if there's something you do to get outside of where you're at mentally, or do you buckle down and like research something for yourself if you're really trying to dig into an idea? And then how does that work into you evolving the idea visually?
Oh, that's tough because I don't feel like I do that. I feel like I just kind of do that on the page as I go. Like the prep is minimal, prep work. I don't really sketch. I don't have a sketchbook. I try to like rough out certain visual ideas and story ideas too, whether it be a character tick or a plot point or a larger thematic thing. I try to just write it down quickly and then remember it, and then I absorb it in that way, and it's on the work. So I don't know. It's really just in the moment. Really, I don't do too much prep work. I might do that for future projects just to see what that feels like. Just drawing more or just doing heavy research. I kind of find that interesting because I've never really done that. I haven't done that in like 20 years where I had to research horses to draw them and see how they work. I mean, it's something simple like that. But I want to do something, maybe historical. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that develops. But as it stands, Copra was all pretty much improv comics, pretty much, for lack of a better term, with little mapping out.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. I think we're good.
Thank you all for coming,
Yeah.
seriously.
And be sure
appreciate
to
it. Stop.
get Michel's books, because they're amazing.